Hello world. It's Friday, April the 5th, 20 present time, 3 p.m. And back at it again, right off the shower. It's Qingmingjie. This is I'm particularly well connected with my heritage. As I was in Hawaii, one of the things that my sister and I did was to visit my paternal grandfather's tomb. And there we cleaned it up and tried to protect it against mold and yeah, it really is just mold. Supposedly black mold. I talked about this, I think, when I got back. Maybe. But in case you missed it. Today. I want to stay a little short. Because I've got something I want to attend tomorrow. They're having this event put on by the Mizzou Computing Association called Tiger Talks. And I'd like to take part. See if I walk away having learned something. Otherwise, today I did put some time into my project. It's funny, like, now I don't really want to talk about it. It's slow, but there's still progress nonetheless. Otherwise, today I played badminton. I had dinner at this Chinese buffet for the second, maybe even third time. I don't mean coming back to Columbia following a spring course. I mean coming back here in general. That's it. Not much else to report. Paul's doing well. Actually noteworthy. Here you have a photo of him that my brother took. He was caught mid-jump, trying to get up this tree. And a recent photo of him sleeping. I miss my little guy. I miss him, and I'll get to see him again soon. Time is fucking flying. At this point, it's like less than 6 weeks. Just 6 weeks. It's really tight. Anywho, instead of thinking more on that note, I'm going to switch over to the book summary reading. Worry about all of this other stuff when the time is right. There are a couple of things I still want to chase down. I'm determined to make my way back to Houston. As long as I'm earning something, I think it'll be fine. When I say something, I don't mean the tiny amount of revenue I've taken in as Yeti Eater. Nothing else. Okay. Moving along. to me. Hey. How are you? Let's get this. Maid by Stephanie Land. Maid from 2019 is a memoir that tells a powerful story about a low-income single mother's experience raising her daughter, working as a maid, and struggling to the United States today. Deeply personal account, it also has broader implications, providing insight into the social, cultural, and psychological dimensions of poverty. Who should read this? Those interested in learning about poverty in the United States. Professionals wondering what it's like to be trapped in a menial job. And whoever wants to hear an honest story who wrote the book. Way to becoming a writer, Stephanie Land faced many challenges: an abusive relationship, descent into poverty, and an exhausting job as a maid and single mother. She is now a freelance writer who has been in the New York Times, the New York Review of Books, the Washington Post, and Vox. She's worked with the author Barbara, participating in her economic hardship reporting project. What's in it for me? Learn what it's like to be a low-income, single parent working a menial job in America. Living in poverty, being a single parent, and working a menial job. These tasks is challenging enough by itself. But imagine the difficulty of facing all three at the same time, and not just anywhere, but in the United States of today, where public assistance is hard to come by. For many Americans, this isn't an imaginative exercise, but a lived reality. Unless you've experienced it yourself, the contours of that reality may be unfamiliar to you. Perhaps you know some facts and statistics about poverty, but what is it actually like? In her memoir, Stephanie Land provides an answer to that question. This is the story of her late 20s and early 30s, when she was a single mom working as a maid and living on an income of less than $1,000 per month. Some aspects of the story are particular to her, but others illustrate larger realities faced by millions of single parents and low-wage workers in the U.S. In these blinks, you'll learn about the pressures and challenges faced by single parents with jobs, the cultural and psychological dimensions of poverty, and both the benefits and the drawbacks of receiving government aid. Stephanie Land had big dreams before she became a single mother and a maid. At the beginning of this story, Stephanie was in her late 20s and had recently moved to Port Townsend, Washington, a small seaside city on the northeast tip of the Olympic Peninsula. Despite having deep roots in the surrounding northwestern region of the state, she felt disconnected from them. Both sides of her family had lived in nearby Skagit County, where she was born, for multiple generations. But when she was 7, her family moved to Anchorage, Alaska, where she grew up and lived. By returning to Northwest Washington, Stephanie intended to return to her roots, but not for long. Port Townsend was only supposed to be a pit stop on her journey away from Alaska. Her ultimate destination was another far-flung city, Missoula, Montana. Stephanie had always loved books and dreamed of becoming, and ever since she read John Steinbeck's Travels with Charlie, she had dreamed of living in Big Sky Country, a common nickname for the state. In Missoula, she envisioned her dreams coming together. The city is home to the University of Montana, which has a creative writing program she had always wanted to attend. But first, she needed to save up enough money to afford the move to Missoula, which was an expensive place to live. Unfortunately, Employment opportunities were scarce in Port Townsend, and most of them were low-wage jobs in the service industry. Stephanie cobbled together working at a cafe, a dog daycare, and a farmer's market. Then he was a young man in a similar situation as her, lacked college education, working odd jobs, and planning to move somewhere else as soon as he could. For him, it was Portland, Oregon, in a tiny camper trailer filled with books by writers like Charles Bukowski and John Paul Sartre. Stephanie was attracted to his literary tastes. They started a relationship, and she moved into his trailer. But this was just supposed to be a temporary arrangement. By splitting the trailer's $300 rent, they would save up enough money to pursue their dreams. As soon as they could afford it, they planned on parting ways. He to Portland, she to Missoula. But then, right after her 28th birthday, life threw Stephanie a curveball. She discovered she was pregnant. Stephanie's descent into poverty was precipitated by an abusive relationship and a lack of familial support. When she learned she was pregnant, Stephanie considered either getting an abortion or a secret from Jamie. That way, she would still pursue her dream of attending the University of Montana and becoming a writer. But she was drawn to the idea of motherhood and felt obligated to give Jamie a chance to be a father. So she literally tore up her college application and decided to stay in Washington. Jamie wanted her to get an abortion and was furious when she refused. He was enraged at the prospect of having to pay child support, and his behavior became abusive toward her, full of insults, outbursts, and threats. Later in life, Stephanie wished that she had been strong enough to leave him at that point, but she stayed with Jamie through her pregnancy and after the birth of her daughter, Mia. Though he continued to abuse her, there was a practical benefit to staying with him. It allowed her to stay at home with her baby. But by the time Mia was 7 months old, Stephanie decided that enough was enough. It was time to move out. Jamie responded by punching a hole through a window, which sealed the deal for her. With her baby, Stephanie moved into her father and mother's trailer, which was located in a nearby part of Washington. The year was 2008, and the recession had taken a major toll on her father's income as an electrician. Supporting Stephanie and her baby put him under further financial strain, causing tension in the household. Stephanie felt increasingly uncomfortable with her living situation. One night, her father and stepmother got into a huge fight. The next morning, Stephanie saw bruises on her stepmother's arm and was responsible. That very day, she packed her bags and moved into a homeless shelter. Here, we encounter one of the recurring themes in Stephanie's story: the limited familial support in her life. Her father's financial situation and his inability to offer much support. Her grandfather wanted to help, but he was even more broke than her father. Jamie sent child support payments of $200 per month and looked after their daughter for a few hours on the weekends, but that was it. And Stephanie's mother moved to Europe, so she was largely out of the picture. Lacking familial support, Stephanie's main source of help became public assistance. But, as we'll see in the next blink, this was limited as well. Stephanie escaped homelessness thanks to government aid, but this aid was limited and came with many downsides. When Stephanie moved into the homeless shelter, it was the first in a series of government-provided or subsidized housing situations in which she would take refuge over the course of her story. The next one was an apartment in a transitional housing building. Both the shelter and the apartment were provided by the local housing authority, and they shared some features in common. First, they were rather dreary places. The shelter was a small, secluded cabin with dirty floors, dingy walls, and minimal furniture. The apartment building had paper-thin walls and was filled with people yelling at each other. Second, they were only temporary. They had strict time limits: 90 days for the shelter, 24 months for the apartment. Third, they required her to jump through hoops to stay in them. While she was living in the shelter, she had to spend much of her time visiting the government government buildings of various public assistance programs, meeting with an array of caseworkers and joining long lines of other people living in poverty. All of them carried folders full of paperwork that proved they were poor, which they had to present whenever they sought aid. Fourth, they came with rules. No visitors, no alcohol, and no drugs. And the residents had to abide by a strict 10 p.m. curfew. Finally, to ensure compliance with these rules, the housing authority subjected residents to surveillance. This meant random urine tests and inspections of their living quarters. This is an emergency shelter, the rulebook stated when she moved into the cabin. It is not your home. To move out of transitional housing, Stephanie had to navigate a intricate maze of government subsidy programs and their accompanying requirements. One of them was LIHEAP, the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program. This program subsidizes low-income people's utility bills on the condition that they attend a 3-hour class on how to minimize those bills. In this class, participants learn that they should turn off their lights when they leave a room, along with similar lessons, which Stephanie found highly condescending. Another program was Section 8, which covers all housing costs exceeding 30 to 40% of a person's income. There was also TBRA, Tenant-Based Rental Assistance, which works in a similar manner. To use these subsidies, applicants must convince private landlords to accept them. But the landlords are under no obligation to do so, and many of them refuse to accept Section 8 and TBRA tenants because of their negative perceptions of low-income people, perceptions they share with many members of American society, as we'll see in the next blink. In the U.S., people who live in poverty and receive government aid are viewed and felt grateful for the housing assistance she received from the government. She also felt degraded and stigmatized by the rules and surveillance that accompanied it. To her, suggested a rather demeaning view of people struggling with poverty. Rather than compassion and respect, low-income people are treated with condescension, suspicion, and contempt. They're assumed to be so dirty, drug-addicted, or incompetent that they need curfews, housing inspections, and urine tests to keep them in line. Stephanie perceives this as just one manifestation of the general stigma of poor people in American society, especially those who receive forms of government assistance, which are collectively referred to as welfare. There's a pervasive and persistent stereotype that these people are lazy freeloaders who waste their time and money on drugs, alcohol, and other vices. This stereotype, in turn, plays into the idea that they have no one to blame. This stereotype, in turn, plays into the idea that they have no one to blame but themselves for their poverty. If they just worked harder and behaved better, they could lift themselves out of their financial holes, or so the thinking goes. But this disregards the unexpected circumstances, lack of support, and limited opportunities that can lead to poverty, as in Stephanie's case. Many people feel resentful toward welfare recipients because they perceive the benefits as being undeserved handouts. Stephanie experienced this resentment firsthand. After she moved into the homeless shelter, she called a friend to discuss her plans for moving forward with her life. Many of these plans involved utilizing various forms of welfare to obtain necessities: food, housing, gas, and milk for her baby. Upon hearing about these subsidies, the friend sarcastically said, "You're welcome," implying that another thing to her at a grocery store when he noticed her buying subsidized milk. Meanwhile, Stephanie was exposed to many expressions of anti-welfare sentiment on social media. One of her friends worked at a grocery store, and she started a Facebook thread in which she made fun of the products that low-income people buy with the government-issued vouchers known as food stamps. The premise was that the products were somehow lavish, and therefore indicative of poor people's profligacy, even though they were just snacks and soda. Thus, as a welfare recipient, Stephanie faced a toxic combination of spiteful cultural attitudes, and distrustful, tight-fit governmental policies. And as we'll see in the next blink, this took quite a on her. The stigmatization of welfare recipients took a heavy psychological toll on Stephanie. As she tried to move forward with her life, Stephanie was well aware of the critical role that welfare played in her journey. Far from making her lazy or allowing her to be a freeloader, it was the very thing that enabled her to return to having a job after she had her baby. For instance, as a single mother without familial support, she couldn't leave her home with a partner or a family member to go to work. She needed to find childcare. But without governmental assistance, she wouldn't have been able to afford daycare for Mia. As a maid with a cleaning company. As we'll see later, this work was arduous, but it provided a clear benefit to other people's lives. That she would have felt unashamed of receiving welfare, but she was haunted by the cultural stigma accompanying poverty and welfare. For example, every time she came home from the supermarket with a bag of groceries, she also came home with what she called a bag of shit. Thoughts of what the cashier or other customers might have thought of her for using food stamps. Her fear of judgment was so internalized that she felt as though watching her all the time, just waiting to catch her in the act of fulfilling one of the stereotypes of welfare recipients, such as laziness. She felt the presence of these metaphorical cameras even in her own home. There, she was unable to relax. She couldn't even read a book without feeling self-indulgent. With this constant sense of scrutiny came a constant sense of needing to prove her worth for the welfare she received. That meant disproving the stereotype of laziness. This, in turn, meant constantly working, not just at her job, but also taking care of her dog and maintaining their home. But that's not to say her busyness was just in her head. Far from it. She had a considerable amount of work to do as a maid and a single mother. Working as a maid was demanding and unrewarding for Stephanie. While it provided her with a much-needed income, Stephanie's job as a maid came with many difficulties. First, she had to drive her own car to each house's company. Because the company's clients were so spread out, it could take her up to an hour to drive to a single house. This travel time was unpaid, and the company didn't even compensate her for the cost of fuel, which took up to a third of her paycheck. Once she arrived in a house, her task was to clean nearly everything as quickly and meticulously as possible. How disgusting it was. Remove the grime from the showers, urine stains from the toilets, the mold from the bathroom ceilings, the grease from the stovetops, hair from the carpets, the dust from all of the hard surfaces. She went through each house, changing bed sheets, fluffing the pillows, replacing the toilet, taking out the garbage, and doing the laundry, all while navigating surprises, such as semen-soaked socks on a porn-loving client's bedroom floor, or blood-speckled sheets on a sick client's bed. Everything had to be done in a precise manner, down to the way the tip of each toilet paper roll should be folded into a little triangle. And it all had to be done in just 3 was not a lot of time, as most of the houses were pretty big, with upward of 4 bedrooms, 2 full bathrooms, 2 half bathrooms, and multiple common rooms. Even going just 15 minutes over the allotted time limit was severely frowned upon by the cleaning company. So Steph in a constant race against the clock. And as soon as she was done with one house, she was off to the next, usually cleaning 2 or 3 houses per workday. But despite demanding labor, Stephanie was unable to poverty. She was only able to get 10 to 25 hours of paid work per week, and her pay started at Washington's minimum wage, $8.55 per hour. As a result, her income around $800 per month. Low pay came with a high cost, as we'll see in the next blink. The work is physically and psychologically difficult, as is the work of a single mom. In addition to being poorly compensated, Stephanie's work as a maid was physically demanding. It required a relentless series of repetitive motions, strenuous exertions, and positions, such as scrubbing, lifting, and it also involved the heavy use of cleaning chemicals in moldy, often poorly ventilated conditions. This took a heavy toll. She had persistent infections, nasty chronic back pain, and aching muscles, on top of exhaustion. But even though her low wages left her in poverty, Stephanie's income was too high to qualify for Medicaid, the government-run healthcare insurance program for low-income Americans. As a result, she was unable to afford to see a doctor. To deal with her pain, she had only one recourse, frequently downing 800 milligram doses of ibuprofen. She got no sick days or vacation days, so missing work, missing wages. This put her under pressure to never miss a day of work, no matter how she or her daughter were feeling. This added to the psychological toll of the job, which was also considerable. The work was sometimes highly unpleasant, as it involved frequent encounters with the remains of all manner of bodily fluids, including vomit and feces. The cleaning was often done without the clients ever seeing her or knowing her name, so she also suffered from a feeling of invisibility and anonymity. And then there was the isolation. She drove to the houses alone, and exhausted by her schedule and embarrassed by her poverty, she had little time or inclination to see friends or family. Her main source of human contact was her daughter, Mia, but the time she spent at home with her was in itself. Being a single mother, all of the tasks of taking care of a child and maintaining a household fell on Stephanie's shoulders. Cooking, cleaning, buying groceries, paying bills, bathing Mia, playing with her, and reading to her. The list went on and on. And yet, no matter how much work she did, Stephanie's poverty left feeling insufficient as a mother. The only apartment she could afford was so moldy that it caused Mia to contract chronic sinus and ear infections. And the only daycare she could afford was an underfunded facility lacking in warmth, care, and enrichment. Nonetheless, she found a way to stay strong, as we'll see in the next blink. Steph's experiences as a single mother and taught her what she really values in life. Every cloud has its silver lining, as the old saying. While it was tough being a single mother and a maid, Stephanie managed to find the bright side of her predicament. She felt lonely without a partner, but she also felt free to concentrate on enjoying her time with her daughter. If she wanted to play with her or out for ice cream, she didn't have to worry about another adult feeling bored or left out. Their relationship was thus able to blossom, and she felt a growing sense of companionship with her daughter, which mitigated her feelings of loneliness. She realized that she was not alone. She had Mia. For Stephanie, the importance of this was reinforced by her work as a maid, which gave her a window into the lives of the cleaning healthy clients. At first, she felt envious toward them. The big houses, luxurious cars, and fancy appliances, they all seemed to be living the American dream. But as time went on, she started to sense an emptiness in their lives. While cleaning their bathrooms, she noticed that many of them took medications for depression, anxiety, and sleeping disorder. She also saw signs of their loneliness. In one home, for instance, she observed that a husband and wife appeared to be sleeping in separate rooms. She wondered how the clients could be unhappy despite all their material comforts, and she speculated that perhaps it was some of those very same comforts that led them to feel disconnected from their families. When she imagined lives, she pictured in separate rooms, absorbed by their televisions, video games. She couldn't help but long for some of their possessions. She identified with their dreams of having a big house and the other trappings of wealth. Her own conception of what's really important to her: connection, love, and a sense of home. She found all of these in a life she forged with her daughter, but there was one thing missing: a sense of community. How she found this brings us to the final chapter of her story. In Missoula, Stephanie found the missing element of the life she wanted to live. Stephanie continued living in Northwest Washington for about 5 years after giving birth to Mia. Her dreams of moving to Missoula, Montana, and becoming a writer. They were indefinitely deferred, but she hadn't forgotten them. She just needed to wait until Mia got older, she herself. Then she would pursue them. But the years rolled by, and she stayed in Washington. What was holding her back? There were two main factors. The first was financial. Stuck in poverty, she still felt unable to afford moving to, living in, or even just visiting Missoula. The other was legal. She thought she wasn't allowed to move away from the area in which Mia's father Jamie lived unless he gave her permission. But then she received some very helpful advice and encouragement from a pair of victim advocates, a local nonprofit organization that helped survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault. She learned that she didn't need Jamie's permission to move. She just needed to file a notice, which he would then have a chance to object to. She was also permitted to apply for an education scholarship aimed at women who escaped abusive domestic situations. She ended up receiving a $3,000 scholarship, which provided her with the financial cushion she needed to take her first vacation in 5 years and finally visit. When she arrived, more than lived up to her expectations. She was quickly surrounded by like-minded, friendly, and down-to-earth people, along with a free-spirited, rough-around-the-edges atmosphere. During her short visit, there was an arts festival and a local farmers market going on. She saw women with unshaven body hair, men with babies strapped to their chests, boys with unkempt tangles of hair, and girls in rumpled tutus. Nearly every adult seemed to have tattoos, just like Stephanie. She immediately fell in love with the sense that she and her daughter belonged in Missoula. This could be our home, she reflected. These people could be our family. At last, she decided to make the big move to Missoula. Soon after she arrived, she and her daughter hiked up the mountain that overlooked the town. When they reached the top, she felt like they had made it, in the literal and metaphorical sense. They had overcome a mountain of challenges, ascending to a better life. Here, one story ended and a new one began. From high above the ground, she saw the University of Montana below, where, a few years later, she would earn a bachelor's degree in English and creative writing. Final summary. The key message in this book. After her life was turned upside down by an unexpected pregnancy and an abusive relationship, the author, Stephanie Land, was able to escape destitution by receiving government assistance and working as a maid. However, the limitations of the assistance and the low-paid nature of the work meant that she remained mired in poverty. Her life as a low-income single mother with a menial job was difficult in many ways, but it also taught her some important lessons, and she managed to achieve her dream. What to read next? Evicted by Matthew Desmond. You've just one person's experience of living in poverty in the United States, but there are millions of other stories waiting to be heard. With so many out there, it's impossible to listen to all of them individually. But there is a way to distill them into a single narrative, and thereby listen to them collectively. So see. A particularly powerful example of the discipline in action is found in Matthew Desmond's Evicted. In this Pulitzer Prize-winning book, Desmond focuses on one of the main difficulties of poverty. For low-income people, problems accompanies this fundamental high rents, greedy landlords, segregation, and eviction. To learn more about them, check out the book Evicted. 24 hours. Should be pretty easy to do, huh? Let me check something out. Oh, I do get it here. Right. Okay, let's keep improving this thing. Captions. Something like this one. Except instead of this, at if it's blank, that else concatenating B2. No, it's case AA2. Is it? Yes, AA2 with 66. Check this out. See what we get. Could be nothing. I think it's nothing. So let me go ahead and populate this on all the things. AA2 and Y5. There's nothing there. Like, why does it show if there's nothing there? If it's blank. Oh. Okay, that's why. Silly me. Why? Let's get down. $983. Not found on our server, right? Because this oops. Consistencies and how done. Nothing exported to YouTube, tagged. Another one here, that's export to YouTube, and then I hope this is similar over here. My blanks are clear. I don't know. It's what I'll stick with. what I'm rolling with for now. Let's see about this. I have no idea what this video is. How to fail at almost everything and still win by Scott Adams. Public. So let's see if this works. I don't know yet. What's this notification? That's something irrelevant to me. Oops. Okay, so it's got. I don't know if this is helpful. Grab it just in case. The file. Right, not this one. Not that either. Okay. YouTube caption. Eventually make sense of all of that. Okay, so that is a problem. Oh, actually, that's fine, because I can go like this. And that brings us down to that one, which, according to this, is public, yeah? Public. Okay. Not bad. Whoa, that's... okay. Like one person got to fit. Cool. Cool. There's also an editor on YouTube Studio. I'm kind of curious about that. Let's try this. I have notes and it's I already have that. None of those probably have. Okay, this gets a little confusing. I've got some that aren't actually being used. This one, where I received a call from the FBI. Okay. It's gotta be another one. No, okay, that's empty. One here. There's one here. Okay, this might be missing. These numbers I care about. These numbers are, I don't even worry about too much. So let's throw that over here and say if it is blank on E. Whoops. This should be moved over to manage something else. Is blank on A. Let's just throw stuff together. F2 and AE. It's not AF, this is actually AI. Jesus, this is huge. This is absolute ginormous. Automatic. For now, I'm just going to throw this together and let it help me keep track of all of this. There's a lot of stuff here. This one, for example, no idea if this is garlic. This is raw. So what these should do is get thing in Y, block column Y, and that should do the trick. This should do the trick. Tag block column Y should do the trick. So there's that and that. Let's see if this actually works. But there's nothing there because I didn't actually make something for it. This is done to snag gaps that have been synced up. Whereas this is a different one entirely. And we'll do the same thing there. Okay. No. Okay. 376. Manage here. 76 manage. Here we're looking at it's all about why. All right, that's cool. Okay. I'm not 100% on whether this will make it easier to work with. I need to keep playing. But so far the hunch is, the answer is no. Be easier. Needs to be easier. A stupid man. To live stream archive. I don't think this was actually pushed. Not how I expect. Just gonna confirm. If it says unknown, then I know. Yep. With this one. I'm pretty thin that I didn't actually really were a lot of these. Just toss them up. Wrong on this one. Hello. Thank you. These are all blanks. Since those are all blanks, do that. I can count this entire one. Since these are all blanks, delete. Alright, it's fixed. This E thing, similar. So, yeah, that's not great. I got a lot of Y's here. Just Y. Oh, okay. Yeah, so I don't have the actual. These are lurking around. It's a really small number that I've actually taken the time to upload. We attempt at cleaning up audio. And push, and this was day 73, and it's got nothing there. Focusing on haters in my underwear. Okay. I think I'm starting to get it. There was actually quite a bit that I had pushed, and it's kind of confusing. What's this one? Trials of Osiris. I hope I didn't get rid of something useful. Probably nothing. Social intelligence. Botanical. So this is really like the finished product would live here. And why do I need all those? This here. These would have been raw. These are all raw. I know it. Just like this was some raw thing, but yeah, it's over here. I'm not going to sweat that. This number, I'll clear it out. And these are all manually entered anyways, so I'll clear that out. Like I've bolded some stuff. Same goes here. So, I don't know, these two, let me, for now, I'll just move them here. Some stuff that's duplicated until I know what it is. This was, I think it was raw. Pretty sure this was raw. No tags. Dude. Yeesh. That's bad. Really bad. Like, wow. Maybe, I don't know what to say about that. Okay, it's really bad, but at least I learned. I figured out what that one was. Okay, this one is probably in the same boat. Same. This is. Yep. Cool. Wow, this is, again, like terrible. Not tagged. Like, that doesn't help it. So some of this stuff that I'm doing, I have a feeling that I can, the YouTube, once it goes out to YouTube, it's a whole other game. So I'm not even gonna try to, well, we'll see. I'm not gonna put too much time into this. It's good to know. That's what it was though. Just like this thing, these are letter Y's. There's nothing back here, save for this, okay. Yeah, I can take a look at these. This is, fuck if I know. This is me playing the fun main. Piano Collections version. Been viewed next to nothing. That's sad. Fuck, man. Sorry if I'm starting to, but Cool. Nice. That's cool. Not upset. Yes, that's all coming together nice. Very nice. Okay. So, wow. The process is, it's, like, this is cool. This is kind of cool. The YouTube thing, a little curious. More than a little curious. I know I should have YouTube here and comments and copyrights. I have a whole bunch of these copy claims. I could make a new thing that's just like subscription stuff. What's up? What is artificial intelligence? Help. WTF, so what do I do? I mean, so filter show specifics, no, not that. I'm not gonna bother manually going through this right now. I don't think there's more interesting data here for me anyways. It's just copyright claims. This appears to be nothing but copyright claims and oh, okay, here, this is useful. It did have some notifications on videos that have now gone on to YouTube. But not very many. It's a really small number. I mean, like, if you would like my input, you've got to be a little more specific than just like, what do I do? Really, what? You know, if you start there, I might be able to help you a little bit. Okay, this is not junk. Mark as not junk. This is also not junk. People, so I can get a lot of. I think it's fairly easy if you're a content creator to get free CD keys to indie games, because, well, I mean, there's so many games made all the time. Books, crazy number. Getting AAA titles for free, probably a little more challenging, but only marginally. I can't imagine it's actually very hard to do. I was thinking a little bit about gaming today. I've been sitting on the toilet looking at my phone. Oh yeah, some news that I didn't share here, but I did share across my other social media channels. Yeti Eater, my Facebook page, is now allowed to join Facebook groups. And so with that, I've been spending a little bit more time taking a look at the Facebook app on my phone. And just seeing what's out there, if I might engage a little bit with folks. And yeah, I saw somebody writing about, like, hey, can you recommend me a budget monitor? Right now, I stream predominantly through a Nintendo Switch. All I've got is a 55-inch TV. I've got this Nintendo Switch, man. It's just fucking sitting there. It's been sitting there for a while. Alright. Anyways, this thing's coming together little by little. This thing is coming together, and that's really exciting for me. Pumped. Positively pumped. Like, knowing what I know now, I can pretty easily, like, right now it's still quite a manual process, but yeah, I'd like to speed this thing along and get it to the point where I'm just getting live live data. That would be, wow, that would be that would be so fucking cool, just to have it going in live. Because that's, at that point, it becomes really trivial to hit these 24-hour turnaround goals. I think that what's tripped me up as far as approaching this problem is really just the enormous backlog. Like, the volume that I've managed to accrue in this time that I've been in this has been a real burden. Things are moving forward. I mean, if there's one thing that I get out of this internship that I've worked, it's that I feel a little more confident to attack this problem by myself. One thing. Once you learn something useful, it helps move it forward even faster. Regardless, it's exciting. It's really exciting. Feels good, man. Feels good, man. Yeah. I said I wouldn't spend too much time on this, but I kind of went in on it a little. So by the end of next week, maybe I'll have things where I want it. There's also just a whole bunch of other stuff I need to take care of. So during the weekend, I'll really try not to work too much on this. Instead, the myriad other tasks like the video interview, job search. Really, I'll just put in a handful of apps. I don't want to do too much more. Just polishing my professional profile and. This is good. I'm feeling a lot better. I'm feeling much more relieved than I was not too long ago. Like right now, I can pretty confidently say that if I wanted to archive the full broadcasts, it would take just a very modest amount of time. Very modest. A lot of it's just be grabbed, change a couple of numbers, and come back finished. And that's like, it's been the goal. From there, the next steps, there's a lot. We'll just focus on one thing at a time. I was refactoring some of them, and I felt really happy when I solved this thing. I'm trying to adopt some better programming practices. So I took this thing that somebody else handed to me, and then I added some more to it, so it became significantly more bloated. Like the lines of code doubled. And then I looked at it and realized, oh, okay, there's a smarter way of doing this particular thing. And so I went from like the significant block down to much more elegant and still readable. That's really exciting. Who knows? Maybe I'll spend. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I was just thinking I might spend some time on programming exercises, but like at this point, I think I've gotten the basics. I have a list of projects I want to attack. want to get these knocked down. I've just been struggling along for so long on this. So for me at least, just putting in some practice, getting paid to practice was quite helpful. But I did put in time before that too. Considering how long it's been since this journey, it would be nice to say I made more progress, but this is a good step. This has been a rewarding experience. And yeah, there's always more to learn. This shit is a whole nother world. Good shit. So next, more automating of things, right? Yeah. To get things off a safe place. Let me make some notes. Pretty damn sure I made some notes somewhere here. Use things similarly, this, abilities, limitations, get organized, photos from a certain date, or missing some stuff. I have this, projects options, learn photo editing better, do things that don't scale, develop a photo editing workflow using these tools, new ways, blah blah blah, that, my essential Mac setup. I don't think I have this written down anywhere, so the to-do is visit photos, video storage. That'll show up next time I search. Weiwei has joined. Hello, Weiwei. $712. I want that number to go down over time. Eventually I want to get it down to like 8. I want to get it to a really small number. It's not gonna make much sense here and now, but Yeah, I want to get that number really small. Oh, this list is fucking huge. Popularity, lol. FF7 main theme on the piano that I played last year. 5360 no scopes. Some of this shit's just hilarious. Yeah. Yeah, I wanna get rid of most of this from Twitch's system. And in the short term, that's not gonna happen. It's just gonna keep ballooning, and that's the next thing that. Golly, jeepers creepers. Am I excited or what? I'm so excited. I can't even tell you. I don't even know what to tell you. I'm just so fucking excited. Isn't that long? Wow. I haven't done one of these type racer races in forever. I'll do one just because, man, like I'm starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel, at least on this Yeti Eater thing, and it's just the beginning. This is just the beginning for this project. Wow. Okay. Figuring out what to do for money. I think I have a couple of viable options already figured out. And I imagine I can scale them. And then there's one more thing, like this pie in the sky type of thing that I'd love to hit. Alright, one type racer race. Let's see. I still got it. Smoked them, man. First 152 words per minute, 100% accuracy on that. I just bumped my average by 4 words per minute on Tracer. Fuck. It's your boy. That's crazy. Oh, okay, the last time I did this one was back in April of last year. And I improved that last result by 9 words. Wow. Cool. Still got it. And just getting better. At some point, I'm gonna get worse and worse, and it's just gonna be we'll see. It's still out there. It's still out there. Anyways, it's late. I'm not entirely sure when this thing is tomorrow. I'm gonna take a look real, just so I have some idea of what my tomorrow is like, at least the early part of my day. Okay, 10 o'clock. That means it's time to go sleep. And I don't know. I might skip. It's been real. Take care of yourself. Catch you again soon. Till next time. Oh wait, is this the right one? I just want to be sure. Yes, it is.